Sir, hello.
Chris,
It's
what's
good to
going on,
see you
Daddy-O?
again. Look at you. You're as impeccably dressed as always.
Come
I
on, man.
I I
Go big
threw
or
on a
go home.
cardigan for you, but
Cardigan's not bad. Not bad look. You got some style going there.
hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it. It's rainy today, so this felt
Where are
appropriate.
you?
I'm in Nashville.
Raining in Nashville. Weird.
It's we're real dry here usually. No, we're not. I'm just joking. I want to say you weren't wrong, sir. Hysteria is fantastic. Those grabby executives were right. Right on the money. I really love the show. It's I've seen the first four episodes so far and it's awesome. I wanted to ask how much influence do you think the original Evil Dead had on contributing to the satanic panic back in the 1980s?
Now, Evil Dead was made in 79, didn't come out. It did come out in the early 80s. I'm sure there's somebody who could attribute us to somebody. I'm just glad nobody has carved up Granny with a chainsaw yet, you know, because Ash is a good guy, he's the good guy. Honestly, what I look for in horror stuff is, well, it has to be good because I've done a lot of bad horror, good horror, mediocre horror, and I kind of know I can smell it now. And I thought these words were good, character was good. He's a rational man who doesn't even disrespect the teenagers of his town. That's what I like. He's not a butthead, one note Johnny. He's like, okay, yeah, tell me your story,
No, and I think too to add to that that like a lot of the sheriff type roles in the 80s horror were always kind of jerks to the kids most of the
Well,
time.
yeah,
So
man, they're always gruff and drinking, smoking cigarettes and coffee. And, it's
yeah.
okay for a guy to just be sort of a normal guy who's trying to figure this out in a small town. And I think what's cool about the premise is if this happened in a big city, it wouldn't have the impact. But small little town, Happy Hollow, Michigan in the 80s, there's nothing going on in these small towns. I'm from Michigan. My family had property in Gladwin, Michigan, right here. Nothing was happening. You don't speed through small towns.
Oh yeah,
Just
my
sitting there
mom's
with
from
the gun.
Michigan. My mom is from Michigan, and my wife is from Michigan. So I've spent a lot of time up
Good
there.
deal.
I'm well aware. And also I want to say that I think Chief Dandridge was, he's also kind of a sympathetic, like a sympathetic character because,
Yeah.
like, I mean, I feel bad for him because he walks in on his granddaughter having sex on a pentagram. That's rough.
Yeah, you don't see that every day, do you?
Now, back in the
And I'm
80s,
a grandfather right now. I'm a grandfather, and hey, no acting required.
cut right to the core. And now, back in the 80s, how familiar were you with the metal scene? Did you have a favorite band? Did you listen to metal at all?
This was my metal radar. In high school, this is 76, so there's plenty of metal going on. During study hall, I was the DJ because I took radio speech, and I would put like AC/DC on and then put my finger on it, and I would drag the turntable to a slow death over the course of about a minute. I would drag AC/DC to death. And then the studio had a door that's about 4 inches thick because people would pound on it. You son of a bitch. I hated that music, hated it, and hate it to this day. To me, it is satanic, but that's another conversation.
Well, it's definitely always been weird to me when people listen to that. Like I understand if you want to listen to while you work out or you need to be angry or something like that. But people who listen to it like all the time, that's always been kind of bizarre to
When
me.
see the cars and the vibration from through the windows of the cars, you're like, I'm not even in there, and it's hurting my ears. It's like, I, to each his own. I grew up listening to the damn Carpenters. What do I know? You
Now,
know.
one thing I wanted to ask you about was I've heard you mention a potential Evil Dead animated series with you returning as Ash. Has there been
Sure.
any update on that at all?
No, we're just developing it. So we are, but these are slow motion molasses processes. So it could be years away. But yeah, it's on the hopper, and so are two more movies.
Oh, cool. Nice. Without getting too much in the way of spoilers, are you hoping to play Chief Dandridge again for a second season, or do you think this is a one and done deal for him?
If they're smart, they would bring the chief back. That's a good thing to do. He's a useful character. Uh,
Yeah.
Look, I'm happy to come back because it's a smart show written. Matthew Kane and his guys have written a good show, and that's all you can ask for. It's not going to get any better than that. good writing is good writing. You actually need to hug that and hold on to it. And so, yeah, as long as they'll have me, I'll stick around.
No, I agree with you. I've been watching it, like I said, I've been watching it with my wife and my son, and we all love it. We've just been like, oh, this is fantastic. This is really good. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of your hair. Thank you much for your time, sir. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
Hi, it's so nice to meet both of you. The show is freaking incredible. I love it so much.
Yay! So glad you like it.
Yeah, I've seen the first 4 episodes so far, and it's exceeded my expectations. Also, Anna, not to be weird, but when I was doing research, I noticed we both have a birthday this Friday. So happy early birthday.
Happy birthday, Libra.
Look at us, fellow Libras.
Oh my God, I love it. I hope you're doing something really fun.
I am not. I am doing interviews all week, like all weekend, so I think I'm going to talk to Dave Matthews this weekend. So that's
fun. That's
neat, but I'd rather be not working on my birthday. But anyway, let's get back to work. I wanted to ask, now that both of you got to spend some time in this era, what's something from the 80s that you missed the most?
I would say the rock music. I'm a huge fan of 80s metal. I love Def Leppard and Motley Crue, and while they're still very much active, I mean, I just saw Def Leppard last month, but
That's
I
awesome.
I love the 80s rock culture and the makeup and the way they dress and like MTV. I love MTV. I still watch it now. I was not there in the 80s, but I would love to experience that.
I was born in 1982, so I was like a wee little kid in the 80s, but I will say I have a crimping iron still, and I miss crimping my hair, and I might just do it. I might bring it back. I love it. Hair.
You totally should. I know you were rocking the hairstyle that you have in this show, which I wanted to ask about. What is it about Tracy's hairstyle and those glasses that make her look like everybody's grandma from the 80s?
I think it's just like it's a typical 80s haircut, right? It's a typical mom 80s look. And I think that our wig designer, Katie Ballard, did a fantastic job, because it's such a gift when I get to put that wig on every day, because it just informed how I walked, how I stood, how I tilted my head. I mean, it was just such a specific look, right? And I think that it's also representative of, like, Tracy is wearing a lot of armor. I think you've seen 4 episodes, but as the season progresses, you'll get to see who she really is inside and the things that she's kind of covering up, and this mask that she's wearing to the world. So I think the glasses are also a form of protection for her.
Yeah, no, I love that answer. In fact, that was going to be my next question, was how I helped you get into character, and you've answered that. But
oh, good.
What I love also is there's this almost, I felt like, a Carrie dynamic between Tracy and Faith. How did you both collaborate on that mother-daughter relationship? And was there any specific inspirations like Carrie, for example?
I think for me, I didn't necessarily. Carrie obviously was an inspiration because that is one of my favorite movies. So I obviously saw kind of that resemblance. I think really working with Anna, everything developed very organically, and I think we gained a natural chemistry on and off set. And we didn't necessarily rehearse beforehand, so I never knew what she was going to do in these scenes. So seeing that for the first time and experiencing Anna mad was like sad and scary for me. I was like, Anna, why are you yelling at me? So I think kind of living in that moment, and also when you're like on set and you're in hair and makeup, there isn't really room to live in now. It really was very living in the moment with such an amazing scene partner.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I second everything Nikki said. I mean, it's just the writing is there, but also like we are like friends, right? So like our relationship off camera is exactly the opposite of what it is like on camera. I mean, Tracy loves Faith. She loves her. And I love Nikki, but like we're buddies, right? Like we like hang out and we like chill and we have so many inside jokes. It's just the best. But it creates a really safe environment. So when I am screaming at her, I trust that, like, because I don't like screaming. Like Anna doesn't like screaming. I hate that. It's not who I am. But I trust that, like, we have this bond that we can really push the limits when we get on set and we get into those scenes, and we can go places that maybe other actor, like if I didn't trust the other person enough, we wouldn't be able to get to. But because I trust Nikki so much, we reach some incredible places emotionally together in this series. So I'm really excited for people to see those scenes.
No, I am too. I mean, you, like I said, I'm not blowing smoke when I say you guys were amazing in this, and I apologize for my surface level questions because, like, I feel like there's a great cliffhanger in every episode that I've seen so far, and I don't want to spoil anything. Anna, who would you consider to be more toxic, Tracy or Aubrey from Pitch Perfect?
Great questions. I definitely Tracy. Definitely Tracy. I mean, Aubrey, by the time we get to Pitch Perfect 3, I guess it is, she's really loosened up, right? Like she's really changed a lot. And so far, Tracy has not reached that peak of breaking and shedding those layers yet. So right now, Tracy's uber toxic.
Yeah, I would have to say that's probably true. Now, last question for you guys, but do you think the fear surrounding the satanic panic has any modern parallels today?
100%, yes. I mean, every generation wants to rebel against and challenge the previous generation, right? Like teenagers are always going to be rebelling against their parents and whatnot. And I think that we're still in an age of censorship and being afraid of things that are different and that are pushing boundaries. Obviously, that's still happening today in the political landscape that we're in. So it's very relevant today. People don't want certain books read in school. There's also, should religion be taught in schools? I mean, things that we address on this show in particular are still happening to this day. And I think we address them in a very entertaining and thrilling way. And hopefully we can change people's minds. But yeah, it's very relevant.
That's a great answer. Thank you guys so much for your time. Like I said, I really love the show, so I really appreciate you making time for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye, guys. Guys, first off, you all killed it. The show's freaking amazing. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
So much.
No, I loved it. I've seen the first 4 episodes, and I want to apologize in advance for my surface level questions because the show's so good. It's got so many twists and turns that I don't want to spoil anything. So with that in mind, roughly how far into the first episode script did you guys get before you were all like, yep, I'm in?
Like not even through the first page.
Audition process for me. I was auditioning like I have to bring this home. I have no choice.
Now, did any of you have any knowledge of the Satanic Panic or listen to heavy metal before signing on to Hysteria?
Definitely. I was a huge metalhead and I watch a lot of documentaries.
Yeah. I think I loved metal music, but I definitely didn't understand the entire scope of it. And being able to get kind of more of a dive into this world, it was awesome. And I definitely knew about the Satanic Panic, but kind of learning all the crazy details, it's even more interesting than I initially thought.
Yeah, I was clueless. I had went in not really knowing a lot about the Satanic Panic, but I'd cross-referenced with like heavy metal music before, but I remember just like the deep dive I did on it, like trying to get the actual information of what that time period was. That's what I remember doing.
Yeah, I mean, I knew about it as well, but the show's made me kind of go down a rabbit hole where I've been like Wikipedia way too much about the Satanic Panic. Have you guys actually like? I know you said that you're a metalhead, but what were some of the bands that like the posters that are on the wall that you guys listened to the most often when you were trying to be sort of in character, or in that time frame or that mindset?
I'm gonna say Metallica for me, and probably for Chiara as well.
I'm like a huge Metallica fan, and now my lock screen on my phone is For Whom the Bell Tolls in like the cheesiest way. I actually was at a random get together in LA, and someone saw my lock screen and was like, "Oh, your lock screen's Metallica?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they were like, "Oh, like one of the I won't say who, but one of the Metallica guys was this kid's dad." And he was like, "That's so crazy that you have Metallica as your lock screen. I don't see that for a lot of like 21-year-old girls." And I'm like, "Well, I love Metallica, so what can you do?" I fangirled completely and totally, but yeah.
That's fire. Jimi Hendrix was the first one that I immediately like nose dived into. But I'd already had like an infinity for Def Leppard and a bunch of other like Bad Brains. So yeah, I had some options.
Now that you guys all got to spend time in this era, what's something from the 80s that you feel like you miss the most or you wish was still around?
Leg warmers.
Great answer. Great answer. Great answer.
I think playing with the fun colors with makeup is kind of cool. I think there's definitely a point in the 80s where they took it a little too far. I'm a less big of a fan of the teased hair. I think the teased hair can relax down, but the makeup and the vintage clothes are so cool. I was wearing mostly vintage the entire show, and our amazing costume designer, Deborah McGuire, kind of pulled a bunch of incredible pieces for me. So being able to hop into that like truly authentic 80s clothing, there was a lot of amazing stuff. I pretty much wanted to take my entire closet home by the end of the show.
I'm gonna just go something random and say like paid phone booths. Those were great.
Yeah, I miss the aesthetic of that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, MJ, there's I don't know how to put this. Dylan finds himself in some precarious situations with pentagrams. So when you spend so much time, whether it's carved into your hand or whether you're trying to get it on top of one, do you do anything superstitiously just to protect yourself, just to make sure?
Yeah, I had about like 6 crosses in each pocket. I had some holy water that that's actually from the Vatican that I definitely, it was a little spooky.
That's amazing. Now, just for fun, if the three of you formed a band in real life, what genre do you think you actually might play together?
I'm gonna say metal. I'm gonna guess and say metal.
I would say somewhere between maybe like rock and metal.
Yeah.
Because we did Mother together and that was so fun, but that's not really metal. What would that be? That's like
I'd say that's metal. Mother by Danzig. I'd say that's metal, probably.
Yeah, I think metal kind of that wasn't on pit.
Okay, you're right. I'm wrong.
Yeah, Danzig, I think it's like soft metal. That should be a genre that, yeah.
The soft metal genre with like an occasional like crazy twist into a subgenre.
No, I like that. Now, do any of you have any fun stories about filming with Bruce Campbell? Because I mean, the man's clearly a legend. So I just want to know if there's anything that pops to mind from your time you spent with him.
He's just hilarious. Man had a lot of zingers on set. He had a lot of good one-liners.
Yeah, there would be days. There would be days for me where like I would just like continuously see where I could take a scene with him, and he'd meet me there immediately. So I'd have to be like okay, let me continue this scene before I like stall out here.
Yeah. I think being on set with him, he's such a wealth of knowledge and he has so much experience that kind of surpasses anyone our age, and being able to look up to someone who's that inspiring, and just take in everything he says and learn from him and pay close attention, because there's so much experience that he's had that might not even feel significant to him, but it informs so much about our stories and the actors that we hope, or at least I hope to become. So
yeah, he's amazing. I've interviewed him several times over the years, and I genuinely think he's probably the funniest person I've ever interviewed. I mean, Bruce makes me laugh every time I talk to him. Last question for you guys, but do you think the fear surrounding the Satanic Panic holds any modern parallels today? Did it make you think of anything going on today where it's a little bit more relevant in your mind?
I think there's a lot of parallels between, the relationships between parents and children, and, the differences of understanding, what's in the mind of your child, and of understanding, but I think, we're really focusing on the music and the satanic panic of it all.
That sounds great, guys. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. Like I said, I really love the show. I can't wait for everybody to check it out and for you guys to get your flowers, because you guys did an awesome job. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate it, Chris.
Was Bruce Campbell always your top pick for Chief Dandridge thanks to his own legacy with 1980s horror?
Yeah, well, I think we probably didn't really believe that we could get him.
Yes.
I think he was, in the sense of like, boy, wouldn't it be great to get Bruce Campbell? And then he reads it and he wants to do it, and we're like, wait, what? That moment where Bruce Campbell, I remember actually, I think Matt told me that he'd heard it. Looks like Bruce Campbell wants to do it, and I'm like, what? And like, you don't believe it. It's exactly what you want. So I don't know that Dandridge was necessarily written with Bruce Campbell in mind, but it's his role now, and I can't picture anybody else that's doing it.
So more of just like wishful thinking in a sense, and then you manifested it, came to life.
Absolutely.
Well, hail Satan. Hail Satan.
Yeah.
Now, can you confirm that the main characters are named after Bruce Campbell, or is that just a lucky coincidence?
No, so it's funny it's funny you should ask that because they were originally named the Cunninghams. The Linda, Jean, and Dylan Cunningham. Apparently, there has at some point been a Dylan Cunningham that has existed in Southeast Michigan at some point. Therefore, we are not allowed to use that name. So we had to think fast and find a replacement. And I picked the name Campbell as a replacement as a nod to Wayne Campbell of Wayne's World.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And then a week later, who joins our cast but Bruce Campbell? And now suddenly we've already shot material where people are saying the name Campbell, and we're just kind of stuck. But but it works. It's not a nod, but it is a nod to Mike Myers.
Now, the Satanic Panic of the 1980s. That's a great backdrop. But what inspired you guys to come up with a show specifically set in that time period?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, it was 2019 when I first started writing this. And I had a very adverse reaction to the fact that facts and people's sense of reality was kind of becoming subjective as opposed to a hard and fast, these are the facts, this is reality. It felt like people's perception of the world was shifting in a really strange and scary way. And I just got a little freaked out by that. So when I kind of processed all of that, I looked back to the Satanic Panic and realized this is sort of what we're going through here as well. Only it's not so fun to talk about it right now. It is fun to talk about it in 1989 when you can get into, heavy metal music, when you can get into John Hughes nods, when you can get into, talking about video nasties, Evil Dead, Reanimator, that kind of thing, bring that spirit into it and kind of make a whole new thing out of it. So, the reason we set it back here was essentially, well, we want to talk about today, but we want to do it a little further away from now and somewhere that it feels a bit more fun.
No, I love that. And I think you guys nailed it too, because that was one of the first things that I was picking up on was like how many modern parallels there kind of are going on right now, with even the show set in the 1980s. Now, the soundtrack of the show is amazing and heavy metal, such a central part of the story. How did you guys go about selecting the right tracks or bands to reflect the era and tone? Was there anybody that you wanted to get that you couldn't get or anything like that?
Yes. So we had the world's greatest music supervisor in a woman named Jen Malone, who you could throw her any track, any obscure whatever, and she would go find it and slam dunk it for you. I'm talking about like the Pixies covered a song from Eraserhead that has all kinds of legal red tape all over it. She got it for us. We have a song from a Swedish band called Bathory, I believe they're Swedish, Bathory, which that was a whole huge rights issue. The only thing that she couldn't get for us, and we all had a good laugh about it, was the song Beth by Kiss. We could not get Beth by Kiss because there were, how do I say this? There were religious objections to using Beth in our show. I did not know the Knights in Satan service had such strict standards as to what shows that their songs could appear on, but we respected their decision, moved on, and had our composer create something that we think works for the moment better.
Yeah, that's amazing. A last question for you guys. If people love this as much as I assume they're going to, are there any plans for a season 2? And if so, would you imagine that would take place in the 1980s or 1990s, or would you want to keep it set in the same time period?
Great question. I think we would love a season 2. We would love to be able to go continue telling the story. But David, if there's anything you wanted to add.
Yeah, thank you. No, I think that we take these characters to the edge and then over the edge in the last couple episodes, but there's still plenty of place for them to go. We want to stay with these characters and a continuing story. I mean, it's late 80s already. So
Yeah.
it may sneak into the 90s, but we don't see ourselves, at least at this point, jumping that far ahead. We want to stay with this family we've created of not just the characters on the page, but this incredible group of actors who brought them to life. And so that's, I think, that would be our goal. And we hope the audience is with us on that.
Well, I mean, like I said, I love the show. I can only speak to myself personally, but I thought it was fantastic. Me and my son and wife all watched it, and we loved it. So thank you guys very much for your time, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. I think we'll see you in New York.
I think that's the plan. That's what I've heard. Yeah.
Very
Sounds
exciting.
great.
Very exciting.
All right.
All right. See you guys.
See you there.